Hey guys, welcome back to Haydo Games. Today we are talking about a game called Ni No Kuni II. It came out about 1 year ago, and I'm gonna see if it still holds up to today and whether it's still worth buying or not. Hope you guys enjoy. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the gameplay for Ni No Kuni II. The gameplay is different from its predecessor Ni No Kuni I, and instead of a turn-based combat style like the first game, the game is played through real time. I personally prefer real time over turn-based, mainly because you're more in tune with the characters and kind of what's going on. It makes you feel more like you're there with the characters, if that makes sense. You can use a variety of weapons, ranging from swords to spears and then hammers. And then there's secondary weapons as well, like wands, bows, and then guns. I like the sword and wand combo, although you can use whatever you want. There's also a sort of mini-game that you can play throughout the game, and they're called skirmishes. While not my favorite, it is a fun distraction if you want to take a break from, saving the world or whatever, etc., etc. The main goal of these skirmishes is to control a group of armies and complete the goal of that skirmish. The goals can range from defeating a group of bandits to defeating a dragon. My favorite army to use is the Marmagi, which lets you summon a dragon. A dragon! Back to the main game. In the real-time battles, you can have up to 3 party members fight in one battle, and you can even switch between characters to get the best of all worlds. The party that I like to play as is Evan, Roland, and then Leander, although you can use whatever combination you want. As you go through the game, you can learn different skills and spells that will actually help you in battle. Some spells may heal your allies or can deal a huge amount of damage to an enemy. An important combat component in the game is higgledy combat. These cute, tiny little creatures have many different abilities that can help you in battle. Some heal you, and some can even summon a guardian to fight for you. The higgledies are probably one of the best things about Ni No Kuni II, in my opinion. They're so cute! Moving on from combat gameplay, I'll now talk about exploring the world's gameplay. There are 2 different styles of traversing the world. One is from a distance and you can traverse a world with little chibi versions of your characters. The other is a much closer perspective that you'll see when you enter battles and when you're not traversing the world map. Both are interesting ways of traversing the world, even if it's a little slow going with the chibi characters. You can, however, gain 2 new modes of transportation as you play through the game. One is on a ship, and it lets you travel fast across the open seas, and the other is in an airship, where you can fly throughout the world with ease. And then finally, another mode of transportation which you can find fairly early on are fast travel points, found throughout the world, which when you visit them separately throughout the world, can then fast travel over and over to those spots. It's definitely the fastest way to get from one place to another. The game also has a cool kingdom building system, which as you progress throughout the game, you can gather villagers for your kingdom and then can also build areas of your kingdom that can help you in various ways, such as producing materials or a place to learn new spells, or even a restaurant. While it's not mandatory that you work on your kingdom, it seriously helps. And that about covers up the gameplay of Ni No Kuni II. Now, we're going to dive into something else. The characters. There are hundreds of different characters seen throughout the game, but for time reasons, I'm just going to talk about the main ones. First, I'll start with Evan. Evan is the overthrown king of Ding Dong Dell, who sets off to build his own kingdom and meets a lot of friends along the way. He's also the protagonist of the game, and kind of the main character, although that could be debatable with our next character, Roland. Roland, he was actually the President of the United States. Yes, you heard that right. The President of the United States. But he's suddenly transported to the world of Ni No Kuni II after a huge bomb explodes all of New York. When he's transported to Ding Dong Dell and finds Evan in the middle of a coup d'etat. And together, the two of them set off together to build a kingdom with Roland as Evan's advisor. Next is Tanny, a sky pirate girl who, after being rescued by Evan and Roland, decides to join their group and go adventuring with them, along with her father, Batu. Batu is also a sky pirate and the father of Tanny, and despite being wary of Evan and Roland at first, becomes one of their greatest friends after Evan and Roland save Tanny, and goes along with them on their adventure. Next is Leander, the advisor to Queen Neria, Queen of Hydropolis, and after the group helps save Queen Neria, Leander decides to go with them, to help Evan on his quest to become king. And then after him is Bracken. Evan and the gang find her as one of the residents of Broadleaf, and after they help her boss, Zip, get back to his old self, she agrees to go along with them on their adventure. And finally, last but definitely not least, is Lofty.
Oh! Ta-da!
Lofty is Evan's kingmaker who they find at the Cradle of Light, and is in my opinion filled with the most character and personality. Oh, and he can also turn into a giant dragon. So that's cool. Now, there's obviously a lot more to know about the characters of Ni No Kuni, but since I don't have a century to explain every single each and one of them, I've decided to just talk about the main ones. But basically, every single character is incredibly complex and likable, and kudos to the creators of Ni No Kuni II for making that happen. That doesn't happen with every game. Moving on to the music/art. The music and art of Ni No Kuni II is probably one of the things I love most about the game. The music was composed by Joe Hisaishi. You may know him from movies such as My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away, so it's no wonder that the soundtrack for Ni No Kuni II is phenomenal. The game has over 31 pieces of music found throughout the game, each one amazing. My top 3 personal favorites are probably Carefree Days, which is just so peaceful and calm. I mean, just listen to this. That's the kind of music I could fall asleep to. And then another favorite theme of mine is the Kingmaker's theme, which is just so full of sorrow, yet still amazing. And my favorite example of it is when you're fighting Oakenheart, the Kingmaker, and man, the theme is just playing in the background, and I feel bad fighting Oakenheart. I never knew I could feel bad for a video game creature, but man, I felt so bad at that moment. And then finally, out of my top 3, there's the Boundless Skies theme, which plays as you zoom through the sky in your airship, and it is amazing. It makes you feel like you're on the top of the world and nothing could ever stop you. Those are just a few examples of Ni No Kuni's 2 amazing soundtrack, and I seriously suggest checking it out, or at least searching online a couple of the tracks, but man, is their music amazing! Another great thing about Ni No Kuni 2 is the art. It's reminiscent of Studio Ghibli films, and that's mainly due to Yoshiyuki Momose, who's the animator and character designer for the game, but he also worked on Studio Ghibli films such as Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away. So we have him to thank for the amazing Studio Ghibli-esque art style for Ni No Kuni 2, and I could not be happier. You can tell that every single character had a ton of thought put into them, along with the whole world of Ni No Kuni 2. The music and art for Ni No Kuni 2 are both incredibly important to the game, and without it, I doubt the game would have been as good as it was. Skip ahead to this time if you want to just skip to my overall opinion, but otherwise, here we go through the story of Ni No Kuni 2. Also, since the game is extremely long, I'm going to have to briefly summarize it for time reasons, so stay with me as I briefly go through the story of Ni No Kuni 2. The game begins with Roland witnessing a missile exploding over a city, In the aftermath, he vanishes and reappears in front of Evan and Ding Dong Dell, just as Mousinger, the advisor to Evan's late father, stages a coup. As they escape, they learn that Mousinger poisoned the previous king and intends to have Evan killed to take control of the kingdom. Assisted by Evan's governess, Irinella, who sacrifices herself for their safety, Evan and Roland then escape safely from Ding Dong Dell, with Evan promising her that he will establish a new kingdom in which everyone can be happy and free. After that, he's occasionally approached in his dreams by a mysterious blue-haired boy around his age, who gives Evan advice on the problems that he's experiencing. Then, after escaping from Ding Dong Dell, Evan and Roland travel to Cloud Coil Canyon to reach the King's Cradle to search out a new kingmaker for Evan. Whew, say that 5 times fast. There, they are met by a group of sky pirates, their boss Batu and his daughter Tanny. And after Evan and Roland help them, Batu and Tanny help them reach the shrine, which Evan undergoes a trial to make a bond with his new kingmaker. Upon success, Evan is then joined by the tiny, adorable Lofty, his new amazing, lovable kingmaker. Then, with Lofty as their new kingmaker, they set off to find a new land for their kingdom, and they decide to settle on the Heartlands. Roland then instructs Evan to make a contract with a neighboring kingdom, Goldpaw, where they learn that Goldpaw's ruler, Master Pugnacious, yes, that is a real word for that game, is making use of rigged gambling to exploit the population. Once Pugnacious is exposed by the group, his king bond is exposed by a mysterious man called Deloren. The party later learns that Deloren was once a king from a long-lost kingdom that disappeared in a single day. Despite his errors, Pugnacious retains the support of his people, as he was just being manipulated by Deloren to do his bidding. Back to their settlement in the Heartlands, the party, along with the pirates and immigrants from other nations, establish the nation of Evermore. To plan their next step, Evan and the others seek for knowledge at Goldpaw's library, where they learned of the legendary Ferdinand, an ancient king who once united the kingdoms of the world through a declaration of interdependence. Sounds very familiar. Which inspires Evan to do the same. After convincing Pugnacious to sign the declaration, Evan and the others set off to Hydropolis, where they then unfortunately fail to prevent Deloren from stealing Queen Neria's king bond. But they do convince her to sign the declaration, while Leander agrees to join the party to stop Deloren's schemes. A similar situation occurs in Broadleaf, where Deloren also steals the king's bond from President Zip Vector, who also agrees to sign the declaration afterwards. And then the party is joined by Bracken. After returning to Evermore, Roland leaves temporarily and sets off to Ding Dong Dell, where he fakes an allegiance with Mousinger in order to retrieve the Mark of Kings, an important artifact belonging to the royal family of Ding Dong Dell. After Roland returns to the party, they hold an audience with Mousinger in order to exchange the Mark of Kings for his cooperation. But he attacks them instead. In the occasion, Deloren takes advantage of the conflict to steal Mousinger's King's Bond and reveals that he corrupted Mousinger's advisor, Vermine. Vermine. Anyways, instructing him to turn Mousinger against Evan's father. Instead of rewarding Vermine for his services, Deloren steals his soul instead and flees. Realizing his errors, Mousinger reforms and agrees to treat all citizens in Ding Dong Dell equally and sign the declaration. Now, with 4 king's bonds in his possession, Deloren begins the ritual to retrieve his own kingmaker, the Horned One. He then steals the souls of people all around the world in the process. In response, the party returns to Goldpaw's library, where they find clues about Mornstar, a legendary sword capable of destroying the Horned One. After the Mornstar is recreated and entrusted to Evan, the armies of the 5 nations launch an all-out attack on the Horned One to allow the party to reach and confront Deloren. Facing the party himself, Deloren reveals that Roland is actually his soulmate from Earth, and should one of them die, the other will perish as well. He also reveals that his true intention is not only to revive his lost kingdom, but to restore his former kingmaker and lover, Alessandra, who was turned into the Horned One because she defied the gods by loving him. DeLorean then asks Roland, whose nation on Earth was destroyed by the war, to join his side. But Roland refuses, and the party defeats DeLorean in battle. But after DeLorean is defeated, the Horned One takes his chance and manifests himself in his true form. The party then has to fight him off and defeat the Horned One. After the Horned One is then defeated, Alessandra's spirit appears before DeLorean and reveals that she actually tried to relinquish her powers to live beside him. But by doing so, these powers converted her into the Horned One and departs to the afterlife. Evan then convinces DeLorean to start anew and recreate his kingdom from scratch. Back to Evermore, Evan and the kings of the other major nations celebrate their victory with their subjects. But Roland is transported back home, having one last encounter with Evan before departing. In another encounter with the mysterious blue-haired boy, Evan discovers that he's actually been talking with Ferdinand in his dreams, who is not a king from the past, but his son and successor from the future instead, who provided clues for the party through Goldpaw's librarian Bodily, who is in reality a soothsayer. Many years later, Ferdinand assumes his father's throne and accomplishes Evan's dream of uniting all countries in the world. In the post-credits, Roland, back to his original age, pushes forward in his mission to unite all countries on Earth as well, inspired by his journeys with Evan. In the end, is Ni No Kuni still worth it 1 year later? Simply put, yes. I would absolutely recommend getting this game. You could probably even find it for as low as 20 bucks somewhere online right now, which is a great deal for like this 100-hour-long game. They've even come out with multiple DLCs, one of which is free. So in the end, if you like fantasy RPGs or are a Studio Ghibli fan, I seriously recommend getting this game. And even if you don't really like those things, I'd still recommend getting this and just checking it out. You can even return it later if you don't like it. So, my personal Haydo game score for the game 1 year later for Ni No Kuni II is 9 out of 10. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I sure did. Leave a comment below what you guys thought and whether I got anything wrong or what you liked about the video. Also, like the video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you guys are notified every time a new video of mine is out. I upload every Monday and Friday. Well, I'll see you guys next time on Haydo Games. Bye!